Good morning, nuts and bolts listener. Here we are on another Friday meeting again. So I thought we would start today a little bit differently with a little different exercise because for many people this week has been rather challenging living in South Africa with all the tumultuous electricity outages that we've had, and we've had an influx of negativity and negative news that I think many of us just feel so overwhelmed and exhausted. So I'd like you to just take a moment before we start off today with our exciting topic on psychological safety, and perhaps just take a moment to reflect on what are you sincerely and deeply grateful for today. As you sitting here listening, what is one thing that you want to give thanks for? Great. I hope you've all found something, and that is something always great to do to sometimes balance out all this huge negativity that's happening. Is sometimes just to take 2 or 3 minutes to really sit down and go, what am I grateful for? What am I thankful for? And yes, it can be uh, something quite simplistic as just savoring a nice warm cup of coffee, or pausing and just daydreaming for a few minutes. Or it can be something bigger, like a project that came in, or your family. So I'll leave that up to you. But that is something very powerful to do, and it's called the gratitude exercise. And you can limit it to 3 gratitude activities in a day, like 3 great things that you positive for, or something less. However, that's not our topic today. Today, we want to really talk about psychological safety and what is this word? And it sounds quite overwhelming and a bit uncomfortable because just alone the word psychology, I think, scares a lot of people. However, it's been a concept that's been around for a good 15, 20 years and was created by Amy Edmondson, and it's been growing in popularity. And I'll explain with you the reason for that. So I'm just going to start off with a little introduction of what is psychological safety. So it's about being able to show and employ oneself without fear of negative consequences of self image, status, or career. So that happens regardless if you are working in an organization or if you are self employed, because it's all about being safe to be your authentic self, to show up how you are in the world, to have no fear of negative consequences regarding your self image when mistakes happen or even otherwise, and just be true to yourself. Like it's like loving your quirkiness that you bring to the world, your status and your career. So that's really what psychological safety is. It's about being safe to show up, own yourself, be yourself. When it comes to a working environment, obviously, this becomes very important because psychological safety is very much interlinked with what we would know as trusting each other. And we all know that trust is a key component in building, maintaining, and sustaining relationships. Trust can be broken very quickly, and it takes a very long time to rebuild. However, when it comes to a team or a community or a network, it takes longer to build trust because we have more people that we have to engage with. So, psychological safety also dovetails on that. But what's more important, and that's where it's the key component, is the one is that it has trust and the other one is to learn from mistakes. And this quote, I think, is exceptionally powerful because it says, every time you hold in a question you want to ask because of being fearful or not wanting to show your true, authentic self, you are robbing yourself and the rest of the team, be that a physical team, a network, or in your own organization, of an opportunity to learn. And that's where the biggest nugget is in psychological safety. There is a trust, as I say, component, but if you have psychological safety in your organization, you look at mishaps, not even mistakes, but mishaps, because we're all human and they all happen. They happen to us um, all the time. But looking at them from a point of an opportunity to learn and not being fearful of being reprimanded or punished. So here comes a big challenge for leaders to bring in that balance of saying, all right, this happened. It can be financially costly. It can cost a reputation. You might even lose, unfortunately, a client. But how do we learn from it? Because our biggest learnings happen and our biggest growth happens if we reflect and look at something that didn't go well. We do not grow when we just make pretend it doesn't happen, or don't even aren't accountable to it, or even are own up to it. So that's where it's key, and to be able to own up to a mishap and be able to have the courage to articulate that, we need trust. So, psychological safety is first founded on trust, and then it's about having the courage to speak up, and then the opportunity to learn from it. I would say those are the three layers I would give it to you. So ask yourself the following questions, and these are applied to both if you are working in a team or if you're self employed or just generally in your if you're a business owner or if you're a solo entrepreneur. If you make a mistake, is it held against you? Does your leader hold it against you? Does your client hold it against you? And perhaps do you even hold it against yourself? So how does that question sit with you? Are you very hard on yourself if you make a mistake? So the second one is a team related question. Are members of this team able to bring problems and tough issues to the table? Do we have the courage and the open mind to actually bring conversations that are needed to be touched on? And often this comes a lot into concepts when we're not where we don't agree with something, where there's an ethics questions, where there's an integrity question. So do we have the boldness and the courage to bring it to the table? Have people sometimes rejected you for being different? And that's quite a powerful question to ask, because we are all different. We are all unique. We don't look the same. We don't talk the same. We don't behave the same. We don't think the same. We do things differently. But have people rejected you outright for it? And if so, how do you manage that in a team environment? So, as a leader, how do you balance this diversity and this respect for each other? Because that's where the uniqueness comes in. In a network, how do you do that? Because in that diversity comes the magic. If everybody thinks same, we're going to not really accomplish very phenomenal outcomes or create high performing teams or think out of the box or have quality decisions. We're going to be mediocre. So it's really bringing in and cherishing each other's diversity and uniqueness, and for ourselves to be feel safe to say, here I am, world. This is me. This is me. I'm different. And I cherish it and I accept it. Is it difficult to ask other members for help? That could be again in your network, in your family, in your community, or in your team. Do you have the courage to sometimes raise your hand and say, I need assistance here, please? I'm not coping. This is too much. Or I'm struggling with this. I need to spar this with somebody. Or do we suffer in silence? So if there's psychological safety in the room, you actually have the comfort to do that. When working with members of the team, are my unique skills and values truly utilized? So, do others cherish them, see your uniqueness, what you are naturally good at, things that come effortlessly, easy for you, and do they ask you to utilize them more? And again, that is starting to look at the lens of this is what your uniqueness is and cherishing it. However, we need to feel safe to show up and bring our authentic self into a working environment, uh, communities, and networks. So, reiterating that it comes about building trust, having the safety to be who you are, but also giving yourself permission to be who you are and actually standing in that power and accepting that brilliance. And then, if mistakes happen or mishaps happen, to own them, to actually be accountable to them, and not to blame others or ignore them or pass them on, but really take the moment to unpack them, because it's about the unpacking and learning from them that we really grow psychologically and as an individual. So, psychological safety plays a part in all areas of our life and is not just something that you will see in specifically in a team environment. However, it becomes critical now, even more than before, in a hybrid working place. Because before, it was always difficult to implement psychological safety. So, in a in-person working environment where we would all go to the office and see each other, it was even complicated then to do it. But now, where it's hybrid and our touch points are so much less, and if they are digitally, our relationships have changed. So, this becomes even more a critical component to build on and focus on and really bring alive. So it's a key fundamental issue for all leaders, direct line managers, business owners, and even entrepreneurs to bring into place, because we need psychological safety to build and foster relationships where our touch points have become less. So that is what I want to leave you with on that slide. And then let's look at some tips how to increase psychological safety, because that's really what we came to listen to. So the first one is learning to speak up, starting to find the courage to find your voice and say what you need to say in a kind and diplomatic way, and really not keeping quiet, because the moment you do not speak up, you're discrediting yourself as well as the other person. So learn to perhaps use that voice in whichever form you are first comfortable to do it. Be that through digital communication, when you're in Slack conversations, kind of thing, or in voice messages or in emails. But if something doesn't sit right with you, start to use your voice. Learn from your mistakes is tip number two. As I say, we're all human, we all do them. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Some we can quickly rectify, and others not. But it's not about the mistake per se. It's about really sitting back and unpacking it and thinking, how did this happen? What could I have done differently? How will I do it in future? And really using and embracing a mindset of looking at a mishap as an opportunity to grow, not to punish yourself and not to take it as a concept of I'm not worthy. The third one is celebrate your wins. This is something that I'm very passionate about and something we do not do enough of. We do not pat ourselves on the back. We do not celebrate and sit back and reflect and go, that was really awesome. We just move on from one task to another, one project to another, and that creates this being on the treadmill process where we need to sometimes just pause and savor what we've celebrated. And in a team, that can be just taking a moment to talk about it, to pat each other on the back, to really reflect what was awesome. And for yourself as an individual, doing the same, but really celebrating it, or doing it with a friend and a buddy. So it's not about bragging, but it's about really honoring what you did well. The fourth is asking for feedback. We don't ask enough for feedback. And because we don't know often where to grow or what to develop in. And if we're feeling psychologically safe in our community, team, or network, we will ask for feedback and say, how am I doing with this? What can I do differently? How can I excel? How can I serve you better? How can we serve each other better? And the more we ask each other, we bring out the brilliance in each other. We foster that trust and communication. Five, practice active listening. So, really listening to what people have to say, listening to understand, listening not to react or respond, which takes a totally different energy of pausing, being curious, removing all judgment and assumption or beliefs, but really being curious of how did this person get to this conclusion or statement or action. So that's where that comes in. And the sixth one is respecting privacy and confidentiality. That is, builds the trust in the psychological safety component, is really to respect each other's privacy and be confidential about information that is shared, not to gossip, not to do the grapevine talk because everything gets always added on, but really bring in that space of whatever you share with me is in a confined space and I will hold on to it. And the seventh one is developing an open mindset. So staying curious, thinking, how can I do this different? How can we do this different? What can we learn from each other? Because only collectively can we create uniqueness, answer deep questions that we are grappling with right now, finding super different answers and quality decisions. So it's really that different mindset that solves that problem. Sparring with others, thinking, asking different people, how did you do this? And really being curious and not just being set in our ways. So, dear nuts and bolts listeners, here we are. Time's up again. Wow, it flies. And that was the tips on psychological safety, be that in a team, as a leader, as a business owner, or in your own life. Learn to shine, own your uniqueness, grow from your mistakes, and use your voice because we want to hear about you. Your voice is powerful, and you make the world a better place with using your voice. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in today, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday on a topic which I am not sure it's going to be yet, but I will let you know during the week. So thank you so much and have an amazing Friday. Take good care and goodbye.